I got you, people. So, looks like the world is waking up that Donald Trump cannot be messed with. I thought that President Putin was the most powerful man in the world, and then Xi Jinping. But it doesn't look like that anymore. Looks like Donald Trump is the man to watch now. Donald Trump is like an emperor now. He's sitting on the throne, and whatever he says goes. You might not like it, but that's the way it is. You know, all these other presidents now, countries, ministers, ambassadors got to think that if they say something wrong and they trigger Donald Trump, they might get kidnapped overnight. That's what is happening right now. Nobody can say nothing to Donald Trump, or you're gonna wake up one day kidnapped and find yourself behind concrete walls, sitting on a metal chair, getting interrogated. It's just like that now. There's nobody in the world that could do anything that Donald Trump wants, right? If you don't want to deal with Trump, if you don't want to negotiate with Trump, stay out the way and let the other ones deal with it or negotiate with him. Rather, you like to deal with Donald Trump or not, you have to deal with him because there's no ins, outs, no negotiation. Donald Trump rules, and what Donald Trump says he wants, he's going to take it. Whether you like it or not, he's going to take it, right? The whole Latin America is panicked because Donald Trump could roll in with the Navy, the Air Force, carriers, and things like that, and just say, that's it. I'm going to take over this country, and we're going to rule it until I see that you're doing my bidding. Just the way it is. It's modern slavery or you being in captivity. Even if Donald Trump is not in your land, you're in captivity under Donald Trump's rule. Now, he's the greatest empire now that ever lived, right? Donald Trump's empire. And that's what it is now. So look, Putin's got to be worried that he might get snatched. Xi Jinping's got to be worried that he might get snatched. The superior emperor in North Korea, he's got to be worried about. Japan's got to be worried about Donald Trump. The Taiwanese got to be worried about Trump. Even the Philippines got to be worried about Trump. If none of these people do what Donald Trump says, they might be next on the list. Not even NATO can stop Trump. There's nobody now in this world that's going to stop Trump. Trump does whatever he wants, and he's going to get his way because he's got what? The military might behind him. And the thing is that he's the chief of the strongest military might in the world now. He finally to notice that he has the power to do certain things that no other president in the world has done. As it's go into another country and just kidnap another president. It's not like he captured them. They wasn't at war. So how he captured somebody? They wasn't at war. They went through the night and they captured him. And that's how it is. So, Latin America, even if Latin America gets together, they don't have the might. They don't have the military might to fight the army of the United States, especially under Donald Trump. You're just not going to make it. You could kick cans, cry, and say, free Maduro, or, let political prisoners go. It's not going to happen. It's a new era now in this in the 20th century that Donald Trump is not obeying no international laws and no rules, no treaties. What Donald Trump says is the law, is Trump's law throughout the world. He's freely going wherever he wants and doing whatever he wants. Greenland has nothing to say. Canada thinks that they could do whatever they want, that if they don't want to negotiate with Donald Trump is not going to go for that. You cannot be a country that's superior than you. It's always been like that. The person that has the superior might controls everybody else, because might is what people understand. You know, if you have a country, if you cannot defend your country and control it, somebody's gonna do it for you. That's how it goes. History shows that the weaker country always get devoured by a stronger country. And right now, the strongest country today is America and the military. And whoever controls the military right now is Donald Trump. And so everybody should be scared. You shouldn't be trying to talk Donald Trump down or whatever, because you get him angry. You know, you might find yourself, bombarded or kidnapped in the mornings. I don't know what time he did it, but I'm sure, like he says, he don't reveal his plans to nobody. And doesn't know what Donald Trump is gonna do. One day he's all right, the next day he might wake up and order a kidnapping in some other country. And nobody's out there can't stop him. Nobody's out there joining forces to go against Donald Trump. And the oil that he's using, come on, right? The problem with the Venezuelan oil is that when Venezuela didn't have the money, he let all these companies go in and use the oil and distribute the oil and sell it, and that's how they make money. But the Venezuelan people couldn't pay for these companies, to refine the oil. So he was leaving all these companies just to extract oil and selling it to other countries, but in the dollars. When another president, I think President Hugo, got in, he said, why should we only sell to the American side, to the European side, and use the American dollar, so that he could sell it to other countries with whatever, money denominations they want. So that's what happened. So when Venezuela started selling to China, to Russia, to Iran, to the Saudis, and they currency domination, the United States got mad and started putting sanctions and embargoes on Venezuela. So that's what happens, and it's bad because it's supposed to be free trade, right? But you can't do free trade. If America says, I don't want you to train resources, well, the country just crazy. Like he dictates who you do business with and where everybody should do business with whatever. It's a trade business, shouldn't be personal. But I guess the United States take things personal when you do business with the enemies of theirs. So if you start doing business with their enemies, the United States is gonna put sanctions on you and put you as an enemy and start putting embargoes and seizing people's assets here in America. That's another problem. No other country is gonna trust America holding their currency. They finance here in America, because why? You're gonna probably confiscate that. When something goes wrong, you're gonna confiscate people's money, and that's why people are seeking other alternatives. So I don't know why Canada is always running their mouth now that Donald Trump is not going to do nothing. You don't know what this guy's going to do, man. He's the strongest man in the world right now. He has the ability to order insurrections, whatever he wants, kidnapping and things like that. He's got the ability and the tools and people that are willing to do his bidding. And, there's no other country will be able to do that. There's no other country that's plotting to do the same thing to Donald Trump. You think they're gonna fly overseas in the middle of the morning, at night, wherever you want to see fit, in the middle of the day, and just kidnap our president here in the United States? If that thing happened, is gonna be, in the books and history. But right now, Donald Trump is making history. The only president in the United States that's putting the world in check. You don't do his biddings, you're gonna get bombed, or you're gonna get misplaced. You're gonna be charged with whatever charges he brings up, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I don't know how he's gonna charge Maduro with what? With what drugs? He caught him with drugs. They caught him, talking to all the cartels about trading drugs in the United States or things like that. What evidence that Donald Trump has that Hugo is involved in drug trafficking, and his wife. What his wife has to do with the drug trafficking? That he ever caught her inside a drug cartel, warehouse full of drugs or trafficking drugs or things like that? No, none of those things he can prove. So what's going to happen if they can't prove that he was involved in drug trafficking? So I'm sure when you catch somebody, you got to show evidence. He's only have a conspiracy theory just on theory. It's not proven that his wife and Maduro was trafficking drugs and things like that. So it's going to be hard. So I don't know what Russia would do. Will Russia engage with the United States? Because it's going to be catastrophic. Is China going to get involved? It's going to be catastrophic too. But you know that America will never let any other country come close to its shores, its borders, because we always take the fight to them. We don't let the fight come to us. We go to them. Once you throw in the United States and the United States takes this seriously, you're going to see warships and battleship cruisers and carriers and your shores, and you think that they're just there just for show. No, they're going to engage. They're going to go all overseas through the Mediterranean Sea just to show that they got the might. But you're going to get canceled. Just like what happened, I was bring Japan, right? Just like it happened to them, they was forced to surrender. It's going to happen like that to another country. And most of these countries that the United States are going to, they don't have the capability that the United States have. That's why the United States is superior. But when it comes to Russia and I guess China, it's a different story. But we don't know when it's going to escalate and how it's going to escalate, because when it do escalate, that means the world is going to be doomed just because of these, oil, minerals. First it was minerals and it changed back to oil. Before oil, what was the problem? Electric cars, electric vehicles, and combustion engines, right? Oh, we cannot do that because the combustion engine is going to lose. A lot of people are going to lose money, the auto industry, so we cannot let the electric take over. And all these things can change. For them, we had the electronic wars, cyberspace wars. Every time there's something new with the countries fighting against each other, they should have just kept free trade open for everybody. You cannot force people to trade with you if they don't want. And another thing is that America's always giving their resources out. We're always giving our money. And I think that's why Donald Trump is mad, because when we need something, nobody wants to give in or nobody wants to put, forth towards America. But America's always giving out money. America's always fighting wars for other people. America's always supplying weapons, intelligence, not every intelligence, but enough that you can get by. Soldiers, foot soldiers. But when America needs all these things, we got to fight and we got to demand it. And that's why I think Donald Trump doesn't like that anymore. And now he's not asking, he's either demanding, and if you don't give it to him, he's going to take it by force. So that's what happened to Venezuela. Venezuela didn't want to deal. They didn't want to negotiate with the United States. And so right now, America wants to take over other people's property, oil, right? He's going to take that oil and sell it, make money, and Venezuela's not going to get nothing. I know that. And what he's going to do with that, he's going to sell it back to the American people. You stole the oil, you want to sell it to us? No, it should be free to us too. You stole it. We should be doing the same thing. How is it that you can steal it for someone else and we can't steal it from you? You stole it, doesn't value, but you want to sell it to us? It just doesn't make sense. You think that other European people are going to buy oil that you stole? And then you want to sell it to them and make money? No, they probably say, why should I buy it from you? You stole it. You should just give it to me, right? Or should I steal it from you? Or should I find a way to steal it? Not everybody's going to become a thief overnight. Everybody's gonna start stealing resources. Nobody wants to negotiate. Nobody wants to do business, because now the rule of negotiations and treaties and contracts are no longer valid because it's already been broken. The trust has been broken. Everybody is on his own now, and we don't know. If everybody's on his own, it's gonna be hard, because if people don't start a coalition and trust each other and help each other, things are gonna happen. What happens if Russia and United States go into war? What other allies? NATO already don't trust the United States. The United States don't care if NATO helps or not. There's a lot of things are breaking up. As we fought by ourselves, who's gonna help us? The United States, the bully of the world now. You know, he's ruling like an empire, like Rome. Either you line up with America or you're gonna fall down. You're gonna pay the consequences. That's how it is now. Either you follow America, fall in line, or fall to your death. There's no questions about it. You know. So a lot of countries are upset. They don't know what this guy Trump is gonna do. But I don't know what. It looks like he's tired of America just giving out money and things like that. And when we need something, we don't get it. But I think it's wrong. I mean, you should be trade with whoever you want and do business with whoever you want. Just because I got enemies on the other side, my neighbor that's my friend should be doing business with that too. He don't just because I'm enemies with him. He's not your enemy. We gotta stop that. That's why I don't understand. These people that think that they smart here on these newscasts with the PhDs and masters that say, "Oh, I studied war for years. I studied economics for years, and I know what's going on," but they don't have no solution how to stop this. How to get along with people. And when I used to make my videos, well, I still make the videos, and I was blaming the white folks. Look, I'm not wrong. The problem of today's world today is the white folks. These people have destroyed world after world, civilization after civilization. And then the subscriber tells me, "Oh, Tony, don't put white folks and paint it in a broad brush." Yeah, it is broad because you're the only ones that causing trouble. Everywhere you go, you cause trouble. Everywhere you step, there's trouble. I don't think there's anybody in the right mind that as the Civil War breaks out, colored people are not gonna back up any white folks because this is their problem. They cause all this throughout Latin America. They disrespect people's languages. They disrespect people's culture. They don't get along with nobody. All they understand is money and power. That's their thing. That's how they live by. They can't live by just being happy, peacefully, gathering. It's always a problem. Speak English. There's a dude. America don't even speak English, man. It's slang. The British speak English. It's not British America, man. It's America. The people that we have here, the whites people that we got here, the whites are defectors of Europe. And I think they got some mental problems with them. I always said that these people, they're not happy unless they're controlling somebody and telling people what to do, giving orders. It's like they don't rest until everybody is beneath them, under their control. I think they just didn't like after they have conquered, all this have disappeared and they can't conquer no more. And they want to see the world beneath their feet again. And people are just not having it. So I figure if a war will break out, America, when I mean America, I'm meaning white folks are on their own. And the military they're gonna die on their own because nobody else I think is gonna pick up arms and fight for these people. These people are creating chaos around the world, not only with their own kind, with other European nations. They just don't get along with anybody that's color, that don't speak their language. And I understand back in the days, these tribal people or the indigenous people were living peacefully with what they had, with no technology, with no nothing. They didn't go out and live their land and invaded other people. But you know what it is when it comes to conquering, the opportunity is there. They're going to take it. So that's how these people think. These white folk, whenever they see opportunity, it's got nothing to do with sympathy. It's got to do with opportunity. You got the opportunity, you got to take it. So that's what it is all about, man. These people taking the opportunity while they got the strength and the ability, they're going to do it. And there's no one out there that can stop it now. Because, Donald Trump right now is acting like Rome was. It's not that it's Rome now, it's the greatest empire now. The United States is the greatest empire in the world right now. And China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Xi Jinping and Gene, whatever his name is, they are nothing. They're just behind. And sooner or later, it's going to be their turn. And if they don't have the backing of Southeast Asia, they're going to be lost. There's nobody in the world that's going to control the United States anymore. While Donald Trump is in office, you're not going to touch the United States. Maybe when Donald Trump leaves and everything will fall back together, maybe things could get along. But right now, Donald Trump is in control of the world. And with that, people, I'll let you go and you think about that.